Hi, I'm Whisper Robert Chan from Afterlife Channel. Today is the Memorial Day of 9/11, September 11 attacks. This is in honor of the victims of 9/11 and the families. There are many 9/11 conspiracy theories out there, or is it just one fateful karmic day in history? When 9/11 happened, I still remember very clearly. It was nighttime, 12 hours difference between New York. What I saw in CNN, BBC, and the local channels, it was real. Raw footage came in from men and women from the streets in New York, and there were no camera tricks, there were no photoshopping, no preparation, no clue what's happening. Firstly, the first plane, American Airlines Flight 11, crashed into the North Tower at 8:46 a.m. I mean, you could see in CNN or BBC the smoke with disbelief, not able to connect the first dots. Like, what's happening? Is it just an accident? Secondly, the United Airlines Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., 70 minutes after AAL 11 crash. The second dot, first is the first dot, first crash, then the second dot, instantly created paranoia, denial, paralysis. The White House Chief of Staff, Andrew Card, whispered to President Bush here in the Booker Elementary School that the second plane hit the South Tower. And at 9:29 a.m., President Bush made his first statement of the unfolding tragedy. Thirdly, the American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the western facade of the Pentagon at 9:37 a.m., 34 minutes after UA-175 crash. This is the third dot that confirmed the triple disaster so far, man-made disaster. 56 minutes after AAL 11, at 9:42, the first time in history, the Federal Aviation Administration grounded all civilian aircraft within continental USA, and civilian aircrafts already in flight were told to land immediately. It's unheard of. All international civilian flights were either turned back or redirected to airports in Canada, Mexico, or were banned from landing on United States territory for 3 days. Terrorism certainly got real. Extreme panic. What's next? When? When next? Why? How? How did it happen? Fourthly, the United Airlines Flight 93 crashed in the field of Stony Creek in Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m., 77 minutes after the first crash. The US paradigm have shifted in just less than 46 minutes after the first plane crash. For the first time in history, passengers chose to rise up and fight hijackers to death, whereas previously all hijackers or hijacked passengers would just sit and stay still and would not rebel against hijackers. But the paradigm shift when some of the passengers heard from their loved ones that there's all these three planes happening. So they chose to do something about it. The paradigm shifted when the passengers realized that the hijackers for once did not care for ransom money, but they wanted martyrdom. And that's when we heard Todd Bremer's last words to the operator Lisa Jefferson. Are you guys ready? Okay, let's roll. The South Tower collapsed at 9:39 a.m. after burning for 56 minutes in a fire caused by the impact of Flight 175 and explosion from the fuel. I still remember when the first tower collapsed, it was horrible. I could not believe that that twin tower, which I was there once, in the observation tower, that I was there like 10 years earlier, would collapse. Like, it's just unbelievable how a building, what used to be one of the tallest buildings, would collapse. I think the world did not see it happening. The North Tower collapsed at 10:28 a.m. after burning for 102 minutes. When the North Tower collapsed, debris fell to the nearby 7 World Trade Center building, damaging it and starting fires. These fires burned for hours, compromising the building's structural integrity. And at 5:21 p.m. that very fateful day, 7 World Trade Center collapsed. Now the facts were simple as that fateful karmic day 9/11 unfolded. No conspiracy theory on that day. So let's talk about the collapse of the Twin World Towers. Apparently, there's some conspiracy theories out there believe that it is a work of the government or the Jews or just about every theory you can think of. Let me say this to you as Whisperer Robert Chen, that it just happened as it is. You know, it's very hard. If you go and Google how to bring down a building through explosives. There are a lot of documentaries. You have to do it every floor with lots of explosive, like tons of explosive, all computer time, so that it explodes probably within a fraction of a second, but from top to bottom, so they collapse properly. Now, if you look at the footage, it looks like it was a systematic destruction of the World Trade Center. But it's very hard to bring down such a tall building. You really have to plan months to plant those bombs, and someone would have seen it. Some security guards, someone would have talked, someone would have seen something, but there's none. Not a single one saw anything. This conspiracy theory that it was planned bombing, it is simply unbelievable. It's not true. Let's talk about the 2 planes hitting into the Twin Towers. Some say it's a military plane, some say it's a remote control plane. They were really real passengers in the plane that are actually with victims. Go and search it out. There's a manifesto of all the victims of all the flights. It is there for you to look. It's not a military plane. It's not a fake remote plane. There are actual people there. Have some respect for the victims of 9/11. Please. That's all I want to say. I'm so fed up listening to all this conspiracy theory out there. I mean, it's nice to have a cup of coffee and talk about this, but a lot of people died that day, that karmic day. Please have some respect for those victims. Let me just say one last quote from me. You know, disasters are like massive reset buttons for karma. And disasters can have a golden lining to bring souls together for at least for a while, and to give a second chance wake-up call to live a better, meaningful, and fulfilled life. Disasters is not as dark as it is. Disasters, whether it's natural or man-made, sometimes it's just part of the renewal of the human spirit. Sometimes it's a wake-up call for us to make a stand against terrorism or against injustice. This is Whisperer Robert Chen of Afterlife Channel.